Babe, wake up, new worst gaming article of the year just dropped. Avowed's best enjoyed if you ignore the frame rate. Maybe we should do this more often. What? What? Okay, first of all, the very first word in your article has a punctuation mistake. Avowed's is best enjoyed. Brother, that's not possessive. How did you get a writing career again? But more importantly, what a ridiculous thing to say. I get that some games are still great even though they have frame rate issues. Breath of the Wild, Bloodborne, Red Dead Redemption 2, the list goes on. I understand frame rate isn't absolutely everything, but it sure is a massive aspect of the user experience. To say we shouldn't pay attention to frame rate is just so absolutely insane. But let's go over the rest of the article and see if it gets any better. Avowed's low frame rates but smooth feeling gameplay makes me wonder if we PC gamers worry too much about the numbers. Yes, I know that makes me sound like a steaming hypocrite. Here's the thing, and look, I get it, I do this too. But maybe if it makes you sound like a hypocrite, maybe that's just because you're being a hypocrite, okay? Just maybe that's a possibility. I've been spending a good chunk of my time recently testing the performance of new game releases on various PCs. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Civilization 7, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, and now Avowed. Hour after hour, day after day, constantly running benchmarks over and over, all to get a raft of performance numbers to give you an idea of how well they run across different hardware configurations. But the charts and video clips don't really tell you the full story because they can't show you how a game feels to play, which I actually disagree with. I mean, I guess a game can feel smooth in other ways. For example, Red Dead Redemption 2 is 30 FPS and isn't choppy, but that's because the game doesn't dip in frame rate, it consistently stays at 30. Does Avowed have frame stuttering? Well, according to his next two paragraphs, yes. And in the case of Avowed, it's quite an important thing because, for the most part, it feels really smooth. Not always, of course, and not on every PC that I tested it on, but the experience is far nicer than the performance numbers suggest it should be. For example, on my Ryzen 7 57, I really don't know how to pronounce CPUs. Whatever, you can read what spec it is, GeForce RTX 4070. It averages 68 FPS at 1440p, with the high quality preset and no upscaling. Pretty decent, right? Not amazing, but not bad. However, the 1% low frame rate, the FPS that the game is faster than 99% of the time, is just 34 FPS. That's a big difference to the average performance, and in lots of other games, you'd notice that quite easily. Not so in Avowed. In fact, it feels smooth as butter on that particular PC with those settings. Only the odd bit of traversal stutter spoils the picture. Okay, so as you can see, this journalist admits the game goes as low as 34 FPS at times. So, like, why are we trying to sugarcoat and downplay it? I would also just like to know what he means by it's still smooth. Like, okay, but by what measurement? We can't understand what you're talking about, so most of us are just going to assume it's just some excuse for the game's technical shortcomings. And you're just trying to get people to still be interested in the game without necessarily lying about it. Alright, so I'm not going to read out the rest of the article. Basically, he says feeling is subjective, so he can't put a measurement on it, and he wonders if PC gamers care too much about frame rate, blah blah blah. The article isn't as excruciatingly bad as it was made out to be in the tweet, but it's also kind of just a nothing burger in the end. But I wanted to give it a chance since, like most people, I have the habit of just reading the headline and nothing else. Just hearing the phrase, "we should ignore frame rate," I mean, that's just so ridiculous. You can't blame people for pointing and laughing. Another post that proves you should be dissolved as a company and the ground where you were located should be salted. What a stupid headline, holy shit. Alternatively, they could just optimize their games before launch. Yeah, also known as do your job. Like, I've been playing Doom Eternal recently. This is my first playthrough on the PC version, and my personal PC has a lot of issues with unoptimized video games, but Doom Eternal looks incredible and runs perfect, and it's just so fucking fun. And besides, most games that come out nowadays, they don't look better than games like Red Dead 2, which most people can run that game at above 60 FPS on PC. So at the same time that games are getting more difficult to run, they're also not looking better graphically. So one would only assume that the reason is because developers are not optimizing them correctly. It should be discounted at launch until they stabilize the game. I mean, fair point, considering a game with choppy frame rate is objectively a less good experience. Ignore performance. Yeah, just what a stupid headline. What do you guys think about this article? I'll have the full thing linked in the description. Can we stop shilling for poorly optimized games? Please. I thought this was like the Nintendo fan thing to do. When they shilled for the Paper Mario remake having 30 FPS, despite the original being at 60, and then people got mad at me for saying that Donkey Kong Country Returns on Switch has stuttering. Come on guys, you're better than this. Anyway, I know this conversation was kind of all over the place, but yeah, hope you enjoyed.